Hey you guys, today I am going to do a little sneak peek in the mystery of history and explain a little bit about how we use it for kindergarten age. Now, I did a lot of research on history and the best ways to teach it. There's basically two main schools of thought. One is that you teach history chronologically. That way people have context and can build and see how things in one part of history affected things in another part, and that it can really build a better understanding that way. Other people say doing it chronologically like that doesn't make a lot of sense because you start with the more ancient history at the beginning, which is harder for younger children to grasp, and the things that are closer, like US history, that they can understand better at that age, they end up getting later in history. And besides that, doing a chronological history can tend to be dry, and if children can be submersed in unit studies and things like that, then they can get a better understanding of history. So, after looking at all of those opinions and the research backing the different ones, I finally decided to go through history chronologically, taking breaks to do various unit studies. And if there's things that the kids are interested in that don't fit into the chronology that we're studying, that is fine. We can break away from it and study that as a unit study, but then hit it again in the order that history is going in. So, I looked at different history curriculums and I really liked the mystery of history, and I actually like starting with volume 1, even though it's way back and a little bit harder to understand. There's a lot of Bible stories and biblical history, which Samuel's very familiar with, and so giving hooks to understand what's going on in the world around them. And it's got great things to study, like the Ice Age and dinosaurs and various other things, and ancient Egypt and mummies and pyramids, and there's so much in here that is actually very applicable and understandable by him now. So with that introduction, I'm going to go ahead and show you the book first, and as I go, I'll kind of explain how we adapt things. So here we go. Okay, so here's the Mystery of History. This is volume 1. I also have the audio that goes with it. There's tons of other resources that you can get. There's timelines, study cards, coloring pages, and just a slew of things that you can get. So when you look in, you've got your timeline, and they've got it separated by quarters and weeks to help you know what you should do. Each week has about 3 lessons along with activities that go with them, and a review, and usually some kind of test or exercise or something from memory. Now, the front of the book is filled with a ton of ideas about how to do a timeline. There's memory cards that you can do to help remember dates and facts, and there's just information about all 4 volumes of the book. There's sample schedules, so depending on what you might want to be achieving and accomplishing, how to get through the book. It recommends how to get through the whole series based on when you're starting, like if you're starting kindergarten or first grade, or just however you want, if you want to take a year to do the book or 2 years to do each book. And so anyway, they've got all sorts of information in the front that is really worth looking over. This is like a memory card, which we're not doing because I feel like I am not interested in mastery of dates and names and events at this point. I am mostly concerned with exposure and helping Samuel to see kind of a bigger picture of what's going on. So then you can keep grades if you need to. Okay, so then we have the first quarter, and what I do is I don't really do much of this. I might look at what did you know just for me, because it's kind of fun. But then what I'll do is I will go through and I will read, well, what I start with is I look at the table of contents and I see what the lessons are that are coming up. And some of them I skip, like I'm not doing the Epic of Gilgamesh right now just because I don't feel comfortable doing that with Samuel as young as he is. But when we go back, we might go back through the series again, in which case we'll go through some of those things then. So I look through at creation, I look at the activities, I try and think about what we might want to do and think, is this something that will take a day? Is this something that we'll do a mini unit study on? What do we want to do here? And so she has activity ideas that she provides for various ages. And a lot of times the ones for younger students are really very appropriate for kindergarten. So with creation, we just went over the 6 days of creation. We're actually doing our entire science curriculum on creation right now. So we kind of built that out. We talked about Adam and Eve. And like I said, what I'll do is I will read through ahead of time and I'll kind of pull out the main keys, and I won't actually read this to Samuel. It's much, much, much too dry for a kindergartner. So I will read it, and then when I'm using felts or when I'm using another story or when we're doing activities, we will talk about this and just kind of have a conversation about it, really. And so that's kind of what I do. And then as I look through, like with Jubal and Tubal-Cain, we read a little bit about them and talked about how they created the music and the ironwork, and we looked at how musical instruments used to be made during this time period. I found a video on YouTube, and then we made our own instrument, and we looked to see how they made things out of bronze, and we just discussed it, and so that was what we did. It was just a one-day lesson. And then, see here, halfway through, you've got these are all kind of review things at the end of the unit. Then for Noah and the flood, we just did a day on that. We did the story with felt. We talked about some things that were in here. We played a matching game with animal cards and like a memory game, and we just went through that. And right now we're working on the Ice Age. We're doing a big unit study with the Ice Age. We got several books from the library that are actually from a Christian perspective on the Ice Age, because that's what I feel comfortable doing now. We do talk about the other perspectives, but I like to have some Christian things to present as well. And we froze a woolly mammoth and dug it out. We did some charcoal painting like they would have done on the walls, and as I'm reading these other books and resources, I pull more ideas too. So this is going to take us a while to get through at this rate. We've spent a week on the Ice Age and we have just a little bit left to do, but we have no timetable. We just take it as we go. And actually, I don't even know, Samuel's losing interest, so we probably won't even finish all the books that I got. We won't finish everything. We'll just move on. And next we'll be doing dinosaurs, which I'm sure that will take us a little while and they'll be interested. And so I just go through and do it that way now. And that's kind of how I use the Mystery of History. Like I said, I'm not in any timetable, I'm not in anything. I'll look ahead and I'll try and get resources from the library and try to have plenty of stuff planned. And that way, and then if the kids are more interested and I didn't have enough stuff planned, we'll stop there and we'll pull more stuff together and work on it for a little bit longer. But that is how we do it. Sometimes I will listen to the audio ahead just because that's easier for me. But basically I consider reading this as my homework before, and I'll sometimes do a little other research online too. But that's basically it. Now I do want to show you real quick what our timeline looks like. We're not using any of the timelines that they suggested. We have just kind of made our own. And it's not exactly because some of these things kind of overlap a little bit, but based on Samuel's understanding of history and chronology, this is about right. He can look and see, okay, this is the order, the basic order that things happen. And as he gets older, we're going to do a more Charlotte Mason style book of centuries, but that's just way too complex for him right now. So this is something simple that he can understand. So that's pretty much what we're doing. Our science curriculum is also based on it goes in chronological order of scientific discoveries and things like that, and presents science in that that kind of light. And so on the publisher's website, which we use Science in the Beginning by Berean Builders, on the publisher's website there is a chart that correlates the time periods to Mystery of History. So we're kind of, we block it together. So I know that for every one lesson that we do in Mystery of History, we need to do 2 lessons in our science book to keep it in the same order. That's just for this first science book. Now once we move to the next science book, that will change up a little bit, but I try to keep them together so that Samuel can just get a big picture of everything that is kind of going on and how it all attached. And that's what we're doing for our kindergarten history. And like I said, there's always interest in history everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Samuel right now, for his nighttime stories, he is insisting that we read through my Usborne Encyclopedia of World History. So that's what we're doing. So there's all of that kind of stuff that gets thrown into, and like I said, we always can branch off and do other various unit studies and things. But this is how we use Mystery of History, and it is really just a great spine and tool for us. So that is it. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment below, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.